everybody. Welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel. The Lightning win their fourth game in a row, a 3-1 victory over the Detroit Red Wings. Another quick strike episode for you with the Tampa Bay Lightning wearing their first time reversed retro jerseys. My name is Michael Wax, joined here with my co-host Jake Ricker, who happens to be wearing one of those reverse retro jerseys. Jake, how you doing tonight?
Michael, play all night. I am doing good. We got another win today, and back and continuing that in that win column there, wearing these amazing reverse retro jerseys. I really hope the Lightning hear the fans call and maybe play a couple more games with these jerseys because they really did look excellent. I'm really excited about seeing them in the next two games that they do have on the docket as of right now. And I'd love to hear, by the way, from you guys watching this video. What did you think of the reverse retro jerseys, and would you like to see more games potentially put on the docket? But we get to talk about this game at hand with the Lightning beating the Red Wings. I think, it wasn't the prettiest or most exciting game, but it was a good game overall for the Bolts.
It was a great game overall, and we'd love to hear you guys down in the comments below, not only what you thought of the jerseys, but what you thought of the game overall. We'll get into our thoughts in a little bit, but we'd love to hear you. We will respond to the comments if you guys comment down below, but make sure, if you really want to make your voice heard, that you comment early and possibly before next game, because we have a quick span of attention when it comes to Lightning games. But with that being said, I thought the Lightning did well in this game. However, Jake, I was commenting to you before we started this video, man, if this wasn't one of the most boring Lightning wins I've seen in a long time, and that's a credit to their defense, but I think that's also a credit to Detroit, who came out a lot better than they did in the previous meeting on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Detroit looked like a completely different team this time around. Last time we saw the Bolts get off to a quick start, dominate basically that whole time. Really, at the beginning of this game, I thought, wow, Detroit might actually be able to pull out in front early and maybe even win this game with the way this is going early. They looked a lot better than they did. And, again, I know I keep saying it, and this proved it right here. With this schedule and the way things are going to be playing these back-to-backs against these teams, well, not back-to-back on days, but back-to-back with the same team, it's going to affect them. And we saw that every time the team loses to a team, they're going to play harder and ideally better, like Detroit did today. And that helped them out a lot in this game and is what gave them such a good push. So, a lot of Lightning fans may, have some problems with this game, and we'll get into some of the negatives in just a second here. But I think a lot of credit does need to go to Detroit because they definitely played a lot better with a lot more aggressiveness and I mean, just energy as well.
Yeah, huge credit to Detroit. I think for the Lightning, it really caught them off guard. We had talked about this before with teams that had lost or won the previous game, how they were going to come out, their different mentality. I don't know it was whether or not the Lightning thought that they were going to get the same Detroit team, but they were really sloppy in the first period. And Pat Maroon even said after the game that their second period was one of the worst they played as a team since he got there, which I think is saying a lot about Pat Maroon's willingness to win, as well as how bad the Lightning actually played in the second period. We'll get into the negatives right now, starting with the biggest negative, which is the power play. Jake, I'm going to be frank with you. The power play is straight up bad right now. 0 for 3 tonight. It was 0 for 7 overall in this Detroit two-game series. It seems like Nikita Kucherov is the only thing that makes this thing function right now. I don't know what's going on. Even before this Detroit series, even though the numbers were there, it really looked like a sloppy power play. I don't know what's going on. I hope that you have some solace for me when it comes to this power play.
Yeah, the power play is not fantastic this year, especially. And it's I guarantee you it's due to not having Nikita Kucherov. This is showing how important of a role he had on this power play. He's able to grab so much attention from other teams, having to try and focus on him. And he's so good at seeing the ice. He has got such a high hockey IQ and can make so many good plays to create chances for Lightning on the power play. Now, the one thing I will say as well is I don't think the power play is atrocious. It's definitely not good because obviously it hasn't had any success. But the good news is they are occasionally getting opportunities. There was a couple times on some of those power plays, Lightning did get a couple of chances, and Detroit was playing better than they normally do. So to their credit, again, that plays a little bit of a role into it. But we've been saying for a while, not cause for concern yet. It's still early. I think we're getting into the point now where we've seen the power play struggle enough that it's becoming a cause for concern. Because when you play good teams, you're going to need the power play to succeed. I mean, go back to the game against Carolina where the Bolts lost 1-0. The power play was a key reason that they were not able to win that game. So they're going to need the power play to step up when they're playing those good teams. So I would expect to see them start to make some changes on that power play. Maybe we see get new guys, get new opportunities. Maybe players just get moved around. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but there's definitely a cause for concern. But luckily, that's only one of the small issues for the Bolts right now.
Exactly. But like you mentioned, it is a small issue. When you get to the playoffs, you need to be able to capitalize on those power play opportunities because there are few and far between. But because they're few and far between, the 5-on-5 play is a major, major player in the playoffs and especially late in the regular season. Though the Lightning have done a very, very nice job with that, especially in this Detroit series. One more negative that I really want to, dive deep on is Anthony Sorelli. I had mentioned you and I actually had a back and forth while I was managing the game on Baybolts that the puck really wasn't going his way tonight. And, that one play I think was a little bit of a misnomer because you mentioned that it was a bouncing puck. And most of the time, he's probably not going to be able to get that shot away, which is true. But he seemed to be fighting the puck all night. He's not really having the greatest start to his season. He's playing pretty decent defense. And I think the Johnson, Sorelli, Killorn line has impressed defensively, if we're being honest, compared to last season's playoffs where they were downright dreadful. The offensive production just hasn't been there. You've seen Tyler Johnson heat up a little bit. You've seen Alex Killorn heat up a tiny bit, and Anthony Sorelli seems to be a non-presence. I hope that he bounces back, but it seems like right now he is the third man on that line.
Yeah, it's definitely not Sorelli's best start to his season, and I think due on that one shot there where he tried to almost bat it out of the air. That's an extremely difficult shot to make, so can't put too much blame him on that situation. But players go through slumps all the time. We've seen this time and time again. We saw this with Gord for a while last season, so this is nothing new. I think a lot of people are used to Sorelli's offensive performances, and we haven't seen that this year. The defensive, like you mentioned, is still pretty good for the most part for Sorelli. So, but when people don't see that offensive side from him, they start to ask some questions and wonder, why he's struggling so much. But I do think Sorelli will get back into the groove of it. Luckily, that whole line as a whole is playing pretty well for the most part. They've had some really good games as well this season. So it's not, again, I think it's too early to panic on Sorelli right now. I'm sure he'll be able to break out of that slump eventually. We saw some other players break out of slumps today in this game, specifically Barclay Goodrow, who had 2 goals tonight. Also had the 6,000th goal of the Lightning in franchise history, which we'll get to in just a minute. But I'm sure Sorelli will get his game eventually to be able to break out and start playing better. If we had tons of guys playing bad, then you might look at Sorelli and say he really needs to step up right now because he's one of the leaders of the team. Luckily, that's not the case for the Bolts. Most guys are playing very well, and these things are just going to happen. Now, again, I don't want to try and bury it too and make it sound like it's not an issue because it is. You do want to see your players get better and better and eventually start to succeed again. But I think it's not like he's playing an absolutely terrible game either. So he's kind of in limbo right now, but I expect him to get back up to his level eventually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that he has a ceiling of potential. He's just not there right now. He's sort of, as you mentioned, in limbo. But going from the negatives to the positives, Jake, unless you have any other negatives to talk about from this game, I think that the biggest negative from this game is someone that you mentioned that busted out of his slump, Barclay Goodrow. Not so much of a playing style slump. I actually thought he's been one of the better players for the Lightning as of late. He's been really, really solid defensively. One of the Tampa Bay Lightning's best penalty killers, which is saying a lot considering they have 6 to 7 forwards that can kill penalties at any given times. But just goal scoring wise, he had that beautiful 2-1 goal, and then got the 6,000th goal in in Tampa Bay Lightning history. Two things, Jake. My first question is, I don't know if this is actually the 6,000th goal because are they counting shootout goals? Because this similar situation happened with the Toronto Maple Leafs a couple of years ago. They had their 15,000th goal, but they also added in all the shootout goals. So, is this actually the 6,000th career goal in the Tampa Bay Lightning history?
Well, it was Paul Kennedy, the one that tweeted it out, a longtime member of the Lightning Bolts broadcast, the Lightning's broadcast. So I trust him, and I like to think that it would be. And hey, technically, I know a lot of people don't like the shootout, but it does still count towards players' stats and all that. So I'd like to think it is the 6,000th goal of franchise history. Either way, it was a great goal for him. I mean, that play overall was very good. McDonough made an excellent play to get the puck out. And then I can't remember who had the second assist on that. I believe it might have been actually Coleman, if I'm not mistaken. But they made excellent plays to break that puck out of their own zone and then get the right shot off to get that puck in the back of the net. So that was just a testament to that how well that line played there at the end of the game, which is something that we've noted at least a couple games ago was an issue for the Lightning. I thought the Lightning did do a good job today of shutting things down and making sure they held on to that win.
Absolutely. My second question was going to be, what did you think of Barkley Gooder on this game? But it seems like that's pretty much answered. Another person that you mentioned on that play was Ryan McDonough. I thought Ryan McDonough had another fantastic game. And Brian Engblom brought something up on the broadcast that I think is something going on in my mind as well. A lot of Lightning fans are noticing Ryan McDonough because he's jumping up in the play offensively more than he ever has. I mentioned on a couple of other shows that he seems to be this season more engaged or better than he was in previous seasons. And that was not a slight on him in previous seasons, but it seems like he's been playing it at a better level. I think it's more offensive production. I think it's more offensively jumping into the plays. Defensively, you notice him, but that's not a bad thing. And considering the Lightning are using 7 defensemen right now, you notice all 7 of the defensemen at some point in the game, but the ways that you notice them are not bad. So I think that Ryan McDonough has taken that big step into becoming the number 2 defender on the Lightning, right behind Victor Hedman right now.
Oh, there's no question about it. He's definitely having one of his better seasons. And you're right, talking about with, noticing him because he's jumping up on the offensive side of things, just like we talked about with Sorelli. Sorelli's made some good defensive plays, but his offense isn't there, which is why people are wondering where he is. McDonough, on the other hand, who's always been very solid defensively, is now starting to show up even more on the offensive side. So people are starting to notice him more, but he's definitely been excellent. I think that's got a lot to do with he's now getting comfortable here in Tampa Bay because, it does take time for these guys to eventually get fully into the system and really learn how to play with their teammates. And I think we're finally seeing that in full effect right now. So he's been fantastic. I love to see it. And maybe it's actually because his teacher is offering them extra credit if the Lightning do well. So he's got a little bit extra motivation to go out there and play well. But either way, I love what he's doing. Hopefully he can keep it up because he looks fantastic. Keep some pressure off Victor Hedman as well, who is one of those guys that's always playing at the top of his game. So even if he struggles a little bit, McDonough's one of those guys that can step up for the Bolts.
Yeah, and if any of you are unaware of Jake's college joke, I'll link up in the description or in the little icon thing. Our last game recap, we talked about how Ryan McDonough is actually going back and taking college classes. So a little bit of college humor from 2 college kids right there. The last positives from me, and Jake, we'll get to you in a minute, but uh, the 2 things that I loved in sort of conjunction with each other was the play of Andre Vasilevsky, who was very solid once again, as well as the third period defense, which shut Detroit down like that. And I believe Detroit only had 4 shots on net in the entirety of the third period. You're supposed to do that against bad teams, but it really felt like Detroit was they had no shot in that third period, even with the score being a 1 goal game. I thought the Lightning played a tremendous third period on the defensive side.
For sure they did. And I want to mention too, you mentioned that's what you're supposed to do against bad teams. Absolutely. I think something also to keep in mind that's important to consider is that, listen, they may be considered technically bad teams, and Brian has mentioned this multiple times on the broadcast, but any team can beat any team. This is the NHL level. So just because you're labeled as a bad team doesn't mean you have the ability to win. I mean, heck, Detroit's 2 wins have come against 2 very good teams. I believe Columbus and Carolina are the 2 teams that they were able to beat, who are good hockey teams, and Detroit was able to beat them. So, just because you're expected to crush guys like that, these are still tough games. You still have to play to the best of your ability. But to your points, Vasilevsky, he was excellent. He's been solid all season. He had that one shaky game, but other than that, he's been absolutely fantastic. I do think Curtis McElhinney will get a chance coming up here against Nashville because we're playing back-to-back games. So we may get to finally see him and give Sassy some rest, some well-deserved rest at that as well. And then, yeah, the third period was fantastic today. I thought the Bolts did a really good job. And this is exactly what we're talking about, right? With all these negatives we've seen, with every single one, the Lightning have been able to eventually fix them for the most part. So, against the against Nashville the first time, the Lightning struggled in the third period and almost let up their leads and had to go into overtime. Next two games after Nashville, against Detroit, they've looked much, much better in that third period. Now, again, you did mention, Detroit is one of the lower uh, teams when it comes to standings, but still a positive sign that it looks like they are improving and getting better. We'll see how they fare against Nashville again when they come up in these next two games.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, the Lightning sort of kind of need to play Curtis McElhinney at this point. Like, I think Andre Vasilevsky is on a roll, but at some point you got to get your backup goalie in there. I feel really bad for McElhinney spending some time on the COVID list. It seems like it's his time to really get at least one game in, especially against Nashville, a team that he's had relatively good success with throughout his career. But Jake, any other positives or negatives from this game?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean, listen, Lightning played a very good game today. They've been on a roll as of late, and hopefully you can see that continue. They've done an excellent job. There's not much to complain about, which is always good to say as a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. Awesome to the reverse retro jerseys again today. That was so much fun, and the Lightning did an excellent job with their promotions and all that good stuff for that. So, looking forward to the rest of this season. Hopefully, we can keep on rolling.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for watching this edition of Quick Strike. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below what you thought about this game and what you thought about the reverse retro jerseys. Make sure to ring that bell for notifications. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Bay_Bolts. Twitter is our most active platform for news, notes, and game recaps. We are getting that Instagram channel a little bit more active now, so make sure you follow us on there as well. Also, be sure to let us know what you thought. Again, I know I mentioned comments before, but they really drive this channel. We will respond to your comments. It's really important that you guys let us know, as Lightning fans, what you thought of this game. Guys, for Jake Ricker, my name is Michael Wax. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, Tampa Bay Lightning are the 2020 defending Stanley Cup champions.
Go Bolts.